Well, welcome, Carol Noonan. You're a TV star, and you've done all sorts of things, but you're also a Pleiadian. And tell us what your main, apart from being a Pleiadian contactee, are you an abductee, or are you a experiencer, or what? And welcome to the Basis Project.
Yeah, thanks, Miles. Thanks for having me. I'm really delighted to be here. I am Pleiadian Channel. I'm from the Pleiades. I'm a hybrid contactee and an experiencer. And I began to channel 2009, 2010 while I was living in the UK. And I then moved to Ireland. I moved to quite a remote part of Ireland, the west coast, Mayo, Lewisburg, which is a beautiful place, very rural, no concrete, not built up at all. And I think the reason I began to channel there is because of the space and the place where I was at. And it was beautiful. It was a couple of minutes walk to the beach, which was amazing, beautiful beach. And I started to channel the Pleiadians through a guy sent me an email saying that we should work together. And he was called Joshua Shapiro, who is the Crystal Skull explorer in America.
Ah.
And I thought it was a really interesting email, and I thought he was a bit cracked. But given that
why do you think he was a bit cracked? I mean, why would somebody talking about crystal skulls be a bit cracked? I mean, it's a very rude thing to say about somebody.
Well, I didn't know that he did the crystal skulls when I got the email. I just thought that at the time I thought it was a bit crazy that I would get this random email from a guy in America that I didn't know, saying that we should work together. And it turns out that he wasn't cracked at all. And he really opened the door for me, because I then started to channel the Pleiadians consciously. And through shamanic courses over a number of years in Ireland with a guy called Paul O'Halloran in Galway, I began to have past life memories and childhood memories of having connected to the Pleiadians as a child. So he really opened the door for me. So it turns out he wasn't so cracked. I think sometimes when people who are awake, aware and conscious say things to people on a lower vibration, that they do tend to think that they're a bit cracked or crazy, because the two frequencies or energies aren't meeting. So by channeling the Pleiadians, my awareness and my consciousness and my vibration and energy is raised.
So you weren't suspicious? I mean, obviously it's a healthy sign. You get a random email from somebody, you don't know who the hell they are, and they say sort of things, they're a bit cracked. Yeah, that's a good analysis, because you don't know who the hell these guys are. But was this part of your mission to go to Ireland in the first place? And you've got an Irish name, so I mean, are you Irish anyway?
Yeah, very proudly. My mum was Irish, and she was from Parktree in Mayo, tiny little town, and it's not really built up nowadays. A lot of places are built up, but she was from a very small town, very rural country girl. And she left. She emigrated to South Africa. She had all the kids there, or most of us anyway. So I was born in Namibia in South Africa. And then we moved. Then she got divorced, and we moved back to the UK, Ireland. We were kind of in between for a while. And then we settled in London, in Hackney.
Okay, yeah.
And I would have had an extremely difficult childhood with a lot of abuse and poverty.
Do you want to go into that abuse? Do you want to explain that?
Yeah,
because it's
I'm
all
okay
part of the
with it.
story. Okay.
It is. It's part of my story, because during the times of abuse, my first memory that I always remembered, and then during the shamanic course with Paul, I then remembered what I'd forgotten during the abuse. But so basically, I had a guy lying on top of me who was my mum's boyfriend at the time, called Bill. I'm sure he must be in spirit now, because he was quite, I don't know how old he was at the time, maybe 40 or 50, 60 or something. But anyway, he was lying on top of me, and I left my body. and I've forgotten that for a huge number of years. And I connected to the Pleiadians, and during the shamanic journey in Galway, I remembered word for word what they'd said, what the Pleiadians had said to me. So basically, I was being abused on one hand, and then having these out-of-body experience where I would leave my body, and the Pleiadians would connect to me, or I would connect to them. So I was having amazing experiences through a negative. So I don't regret any of it, because without the negative stuff, I wouldn't have had the positive outcome, which has hugely changed my vibration, my energy, my awareness, my consciousness, so I wouldn't change it. I know that's hard for some people to take, but
Well, it's good. I mean, it's had a positive outcome. It's a good thing, but it's obviously not pleasant to go through.
No, it's, I would say it's quite similar to a birthing process. It's painful at the time, but and I know that few people will get this, but it was actually worth it in the end, and I wouldn't change it because of the outcome it's had on, and the effect and the positive outcome it's had on me, where I'm now able to channel the Pleiadians fully and consciously. I also had a out-of-body experience when I was 12, where I just wanted out. I'd had enough. I'd gone through abuse, through trauma, through rape by my cousin, and through all sorts of things. My mum was an alcoholic. She had to take me to the doctor because I couldn't go to the toilet because I was so undernourished. And he looked at me, and he looked at her, and he looked back at me, and he turned to her and he said, "You have to feed her." And there was such a look of empathy for me on his face, and such a look of disgust for her on his face. And I actually felt really sorry for her then. But anyway, so nothing
That's
really
a bit like
changed.
Stockholm syndrome, isn't it?
Well, she wasn't well.
I think
She
it's
wasn't
called,
well.
there's a thing called I'm Okay, You're Okay. And it's a psychology, there's actually a set of books. But the child immediately thinks it's its fault. The parents can't do any wrong, so the child thinks it's its fault. So that's where that comes from, and you have to then move forward and eventually deparent or disconnect altogether.
Yeah, and because of that, my relationship with her changed when I was around 12, because I began to become aware that this wasn't normal, and it wasn't right, and it wasn't okay.
That's a huge awareness.
Yeah, it was. I woke up after I had my out-of-body experience. So I was laying on my mattress on the floor, and because I didn't have a bed, but I was actually okay with that. I've always preferred sleeping on the floor to sleeping on a bed, because I feel more grounded. Now, I know that sounds a bit strange or a bit funny, but I actually do.
Is it because maybe there was something under the bed that you were afraid of? So if you were sitting on the floor, lying on the floor, you didn't have that option?
No, I think it's because I feel more grounded when I'm on the floor, because a
Safer.
huge safer and more grounded and connected to the earth. Whereas if I'm up high, especially if I'm flying, because I love flying, if I'm on an airplane, I get totally ungrounded.
Well,
My
there is
energy
there is a
goes-
technique of grounding. You can't actually sort of sit on the chair, on the seat, and well, you've got to sit in the seat, but you can actually send a column of connectivity or light from your back down through the airplane and connect to the earth. You can ground yourself while you're flying, and it also helps you with jet lag. So that's
I
one
must
technique.
try that. I'll try that the next time I do fly.
I mean, you have the normal grounding technique that you would use with both legs, and then it's when you're sitting on the ground.
Yeah.
But you can do the same while you're flying, and then that connects with the earth as you're flying, and then you don't have. Well, it helps.
Yeah, I'll do that next time I'm flying.
Whenever anybody's going to be allowed to fly.
Yeah. Well,
We are speaking, just for the record, we're speaking in the middle of lockdown in the coronavirus crisis in 2020, March 25th, because it's important each day. March 25th, 2020, during the corona crisis. Okay.
Okay, so my out of body experience, I was lying on my bed and I was just distraught. I was in a lot of emotional pain and I was sobbing my heart out. And the next thing I knew, I was in the right hand corner of my ceiling. I'd left my body and I met up with Jesus, or Jesus came to me. And because he stopped me from committing suicide, I was on the verge of taking a load of tablets in my room alone and not telling anyone. I just wanted out, Miles. You know, I was done. I'd had enough. And he stopped me from committing suicide at the age of 12, and it changed my whole life. It changed everything for me, my whole perspective. When I came back, I was very peaceful, very calm, and internally for about 2, 3, 4 weeks, and then gradually it kind of ebbed away. And I didn't tell anyone about it for years, for like a good 20, 30 years. I didn't tell anyone about it. But I began to meditate. I began to read spiritual books. I went to meditation conventions and conferences and meditations in central London. And
Would you care to mention what those were?
I can't remember her name, but she was a very famous Indian lady. She's quite chubby, very famous, and I can't remember her name, but there was thousands of people in the audience, and I was kind of somewhere in the front or middle, and she stopped and she looked at me dead in the eye, and she just smiled. And I always thought, wow, that's so unusual. Like, there's thousands of people here. Why is she smiling at me?
Well,
And
she might be able to see your aura. Her auric field must be different.
Yeah, no, that's what I think. I believe she saw something in me that was unusual. But that's always stayed with me, always stayed with me. So, yeah, and that, I think that changed my whole life. But I do believe that I am Pleiadian. I'm from the Pleiades, like most other starseeds. I've come here with a reason, with a purpose, with a mission. And that's hugely to do with raising the consciousness of the planet, raising the consciousness of humanity. And this morning I was sitting in the garden and I was taking some notes because I have been getting information, channeled information about the coronavirus. So if it's okay with you, I would like to talk a little bit about that.
Yep. I mean, this is one of the important things about what we're doing right now is getting information from other people on what their thoughts are and what their experiences are. So, by all means, take it away.
Well, I've written some notes down. There's like 3 or 4 pages of A4. If I'd had time, I would have typed them up onto PowerPoint, but I didn't.
No, it's fine. Whatever works.
Okay.
This is relaxed. We're not in an express train. We're not catching buses and things. There's no buses to catch. Well, just take it easy. Just do your own thing.
Okay. There's not one person on this planet that isn't affected by the coronavirus. And that's what it takes to shift humanity's consciousness quickly. Coronavirus has a lot of reasons, not just one. A huge amount is going on behind the scenes. Yeah, one of the well, can I go through my notes and then maybe we can elaborate? So it's a bioweapon, which is kind of kind of goes without saying. It doesn't like the sun or ultraviolet light or sunbeds or heat. Negative agenda, but has a positive outcome. Part of the ascension. There's 2 waves of energy are hitting the earth at the moment. One positive, helping to raise our consciousness, and one negative, which is fear-based, wanting to dumb us down even further. So critically important at this time to stay out of fear and raise your energy, raise your vibration and awareness, your consciousness. And that will help us to see through these times on earth. We need to get back to basics. Food should be kept. We should start growing our own food and stop being dependent on supermarkets. Food will be in short supply. Food will be in short supply and big demand. We will run short supermarkets. We will run short. Supermarkets like Asda have already started to put their prices up and increase their prices. Self-sustainability is really the way we should be going. Local produce, local community. We need to get back to basics and work with what our surroundings are we're in, which will help our local economy as well. Local food, local produce. We need to start growing our own food as well, as much as possible, to help to take our power back from the big companies who we've given far too much power and control over. Supermarkets, they have. We need to take it back. They've taken it and we need to take it back. Medicinal companies, pharmaceutical companies, banks, the banks are going to go down. Money is going to start to break. Money and banks are going to start to break down and dissolve. There's something above the earth. So I don't know if that's to do with NASA. And it probably is both, but it's to do with NASA or big corporations that are doing something in a negative way. But there's also going to be an influx of UFO activity, which one of the reasons we're being told to stay indoors is that we don't see it. So I would highly recommend or advise people to go outside. They don't have to go walking into town. They can just simply go outside their front door at night or look through the windows or the garden at night, because you can see them more obviously with the lights at night. But there was going to be a mass influx of UFO activity, and I'm wondering because I believe that the coronavirus has several reasons or meanings. It's not just one reason. They're using that to branch things off from each other. So it could be that there's going to be mass UFO sightings, and this is part of them not wanting us to see them. Both negative and positive UFO sightings. We've never been alone. We don't come from here. We need to get back to basics with food and medicine. So using natural herbs and remedies that we can grow ourselves, growing our own food where possible, or sourcing it from local sources. We really need to come back to smaller communities and back to more of the ancient tribes, especially like Native Americans, where they killed what they needed.
Big deal. That's a big deal. That kill what you
Yeah.
need. Some of the things which on survival training is to make sure that you just kill what you need, so you have a supply of food the next day or the next week.
Yeah.
Where as
Yeah.
opposed to laying traps, which kills everything.
Yeah, and that's where we need to be going. This is part of the negative agenda. The coronavirus, in my understanding, is part of the negative agenda, but it has a huge positive outcome, I believe, and I believe it's part of the ascension and the shift in consciousness for humanity. So it's been set up we've been set up by the negative agenda, but it actually has a positive outcome for us, I believe, that is hugely positive and part of the ascension, part of the shift of consciousness for all of humanity.
Is that a sort of carrot and stick?
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It is.
And how does this ascension process manifest itself?
I feel that, during the downfall of Atlantis, our DNA was changed by negative ET energy, and we were dumbed down and made stupid. We were made stupid. Our DNA was changed and taken away. Our strands were taken away, which was to do with part of the downfall of Atlantis. We're going back to a time where our consciousness and our energy is raising, and that will involve our DNA going back to its original blueprint. its original blueprint of how we were meant to be. We lived a lot longer. We were much healthier. We didn't have the huge amount of disease ailments and conditions that we have today, because we were able to heal ourselves through our energy and through our vibration, and they didn't exist in the first place. Cancer has been caused. I've been shown that cancer was caused by negative ET energy putting a virus into us. So I believe that cancer is also like a virus.
Absolutely. I've interviewed somebody about that. You can actually give people about these viruses, and it will actually manifest.
There's a lot of negative agenda, negative ET energy that is in control and running the country, running the earth, running the world. And I've been shown that they want control of the earth. It's about land. It's about control of the earth. We need to wake up and take our power back, and not let them get away with it, you know?
What do you consider to be the power elite? What do you consider to be what do you consider to be the people who are in charge? And how do we get our power back, so to speak?
We get our power back by raising our awareness, raising our vibration, our energy. So if we're feeling down, if we're feeling low, if we're feeling depressed, if we're feeling fear, that is a level that can be changed. You can bring it up. I'm not saying you can do it very quickly, although there are techniques, which I'll talk about in a minute, where you can do it quickly. But you need to raise your energy to come out of that frequency, because that's a frequency. Energy is a frequency, and it has all different, it's like a radio station. So depending on what frequency you're at, you'll be picking up different things and getting information from different places. So if you're at a high level, you'll be able to channel beings like the Star Nations and Jesus. And if you're at a lower level, you'll be dumbed down and in fear and running around a bit like a headless chicken. And that's what they want. There's a very good technique where if you can get a mala or beads, and if you can say mantras while you're doing the mala beads, the Buddhist beads, or it could be a rosary beads, but make sure they're quite hardy, because rosary beads are normally quite fragile. So the Buddhist beads are better. Where if you say mantras very quickly and say them over and over again, that will raise your frequency quite quickly. And I've done that myself when I was when I had depression. I had depression for about 10 years.
Yeah.
So I'm very careful if I see it coming back or feel it coming back to quickly change it now, because I don't want to spend another 10 years in depression.
I mean, when did you start getting depressed? I mean, or when did that actually happen?
As a child.
Yeah, but no. But what age? I think was it after your out of body experience, when you were 12, or before that?
No, I think probably around the age of 16.
Oh, right. So much later than when you had that revelation.
Yeah. But I think there were times when I was down as a child, but it was the circumstances I was in.
In other words, it was tough for you, and you had to lick the road clean every morning, and you're beaten by your father, and then after that you had to beat yourself and whatever. I mean, I'm making a bit of a joke like that, but I mean, this is driving. It seems as if your life has been, you're being actually driven by something to actually suffer these consequences, and then you come through to a more positive vein. Is that right?
Absolutely. What I discovered when I woke up during the shamanic journeying was that this is kind of a pattern. So I was sent here from the Pleiades, and the Pleiadians have tracked us in a positive way, or wherever we're from. So if we're a StarSeed from Sirius or Pleiadians or wherever it is, they have some type of tracking device. Now, I'm not saying it's a physical implant, but it's some type of energy or device that they are able to home in and find out where we are individually, so that they can contact us at some point in our lifetime and communicate with us to let us know where we're from, why we're here, what's going on. So they've done that with me. They showed me during a shamanic journey that I was sent here, like a lot of, like thousands of other starseeds. I was sent here from the Pleiades, and I was given a reason, I was given a purpose, I was given a mission. But the negative agenda also has tracking devices on us. The negative agenda also is able to track us and home in on us. So the positive and the negative are both able to track in on us individually as starseeds. My family is very much part of that negative agenda. They either are negative agenda or negative energies are working through them.
Yeah.
So
it's this a negative energy working through people that I think is the problem. How do you identify
yeah.
that? How do you get through this?
Well, I've noticed it's become a pattern with me, especially in some of my past relationships. So you have to be very careful. You have to be careful with relationships, be careful with friendships, as much as you can, because those negative energies do work through people.
Yeah. So, have you talked to any other, what I would describe, there's 2 or 3 other Pleiadian people sort of coming up with a similar message. What's your particular take on this? Plus also, what's the message from the Pleiadians? Or are they as good as any ET race or what?
I always feel them as extremely loving. Wouldn't hurt a fly. They're really here to help us evolve and to help raise the consciousness of humanity. Very loving beings, because there's so much fear going on at the moment, so much lower vibration, and they're really here to help to wake us up, because what the outcome of Earth will affect the whole universe, not just Earth. So they're here from their future. I just want to get this right, because I do forget a lot of the stuff that I have channeled. So they're here from their future.
Have you thought of writing that down?
I have, Miles. It's in my book.
Okay. We'll do the book afterwards. Yeah, go.
Yeah. So everything I need to write stuff down, because part of the negative agenda, they do seem to affect my memory. So I've written everything that I need to. I've written it down, and it's all in my book. But anyway, so there is a war between light and dark, and they have set up some type of device or energy tracking system where they track us energetically and know where we are. So sometimes we're born into families that are very dysfunctional, that are negative agendas working through them in order to dumb us down. So it puts us off course, it puts us off our path.
I have to say that there's quite a few people who talk like you and have gone through similar trauma. They have been put into families, so they deliberately experience that, but there's other caveats involved there, which is very, very important for instance, what you're doing right now.
Yeah, I don't think I'm unique or different to any other starseed. I think we're here en masse, and I think the time we're in now, with the coronavirus, I feel that is very much part of the ascension. I feel it's going to help to wake a lot of people up. I feel that a lot of people will pass away and die.
Well, we do have there's a website called www.deagle. That's D with an eagle after it. It's basically eagle with D on the front, .com. And that gives a huge amount of information on defense issues. It gives a population, country by country, GDP expected up and down. Well, for the UK, by 2025, it's going to be down 14 million. But then we're the baby boomers. The baby boomers of all. I expect we're going to get we're going to get the
baby.
corona. I think we're going to get a new corona. I mean, I don't. What are we going to call this? The corona boomers. Yeah, I reckon there's going to be a lot of Christmas births coming along, but who knows? Maybe that's a crisis that people feel when the population's under such a threat. There's sort of an urge maybe to make more of us. But anyway, we're getting it. But so how do you feel about all that? I mean, this whole situation about this virus, and is it real? Is it imagined? What's the agenda behind it? Because there are other Pleiadian contacts I've been talking to who are beating their way to my door. So you're I think the third or fourth. So what is your message from the Pleiadian collective, if it's something you can call that? What do you call it?
I just call them the Pleiadians. I know there's one particular that talks to me quite a lot, which is Ashtar. Well, he was the first one that gave me his name. I don't tend to research stuff.
Is that similar to the Billy Meyer case?
Probably.
Yeah, I think
Probably.
his Simwasi, I think his name was, or one of the people involved with that case. Do you know that case?
I've heard of Billy Myers, and
Yeah.
I've seen some of the pictures. I think he's an amazing guy. I know there's some suggestions or statements or allegations that he was or is fake. I don't.
Well, he
believe
did only have one arm. He was one armed apparently.
Yeah.
There was a lot involved with the major UFO groups in the United States who were basically dispatched off to see him and make sure his story was pretty heavily corrupted. I know that.
I think they do that with a lot of people, to put doubt in people's minds as to whether that's someone who's genuine. But the coronavirus is a positive outcome through a negative. So it's part of the ascension process. You know, we're being woken up as we need to raise our vibration so that we're not in fear mode. I believe there's two energies on or around the earth at the moment, and one is fear-based, negative, and one is very high vibrational and positive. And I've actually been feeling really positive the last couple of weeks. My vibration has been quite high. So I'm not buying into the fear-based stuff. I'm not buying into, into dumbing us down and keeping us fear-based and fear shopping and stuff like that. Although I have stocked up because I think supplies will go short and demand will run high. The supermarkets have already raised their prices in Asda, which is only over the road from me. But we need to now start growing our own fruit and veg, and as much as we can, or source it locally.
And how are people going to do that if you're locked? Well, I mean, whatever. If you've got a house and things.
If you've a small garden, you can start growing a few potatoes or carrots or vegetables or, something, so that when you can't get hold of anything, you've got a backup. We need to take responsibility for ourselves and not give away our power to the big supermarkets and big pharmaceutical companies, because they're going to run out and the supply is not going to be there to buy. So we need to get some kind of, our back gardens. We need to start growing stuff now.
Obviously, that's long term, but I mean, we're dealing with a long term crisis here. Apparently,
Yeah.
So what's your take on that? That it's going to bite us in the ass this time, and then we're going to suddenly find we're going to get better. Things are going to be opened up, and then suddenly in September, November, it comes around and really hits us. Is that what do you feel about that?
I feel it's going to last 3 to 6 months. I feel that this is it. This is the ultimatum. This is the big event. This is the big showdown. This is the big guns. This is it. this is the shit hitting the fan, and we either stay in fear and where we're at individually and as a whole with humanity, or we raise our vibrations, raise our frequencies, and move through it, and stop being controlled, stop being dictated to, stop being lied to, and take control, take back our own power, and take back the earth, because it is about control of the earth. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Can you go into that in more detail? Because I mean that's something I don't want to say what I've heard.
Okay.
What have you heard? What's your take on this from your contacts as such? Can you get detail on that?
Well, we need to, our money is falling away. Banks are going to fall away. Money's going to fall away. So we're going to go back to a system where we don't have money. Now, I don't know how long that's going to take, but that's where we're heading. We're heading back to our original blueprint and how things were meant to be before the negative ET energy came in and changed our DNA. So we're heading back to the time, or a similar time, of Atlantis, where everything is being shifted, everything is being changed, everything is going back to how it should be, how it was meant to be, the original blueprint in the beginning. You know, Atlantis did exist wherever it was.
Well, is that why you went to Mayo? Is that why you went to Ireland? The west of Ireland is meant. No, I'm serious. West of Ireland, southwest Ireland has got a really deep connection with Atlantis. You've got these islands which come up out of the sea, physically appear. They don't sort of rise up. They physically appear out of nowhere in the sea. High Brazil. Have you heard anything like that?
The coordinates are on something that's very ancient, which I think is fascinating. And I think that's probably why I was drawn to that area, because I was in Lewisburg, in Carramore Beach. Now, if you were to stand on Lewisburg Beach, in Carramore Beach in Lewisburg, you would probably see
that's County Mayo.
Yeah, County Mayo.
Because it sounds like the middle of Europe somewhere. Yeah, I mean, Lewisburg doesn't sound like a very Irish name. But okay, continue.
Sorry, Miles. But if you were stood on that beach, you could probably see the islands that were meant to be there or had been there. From your they would have been within sight. Now, I have heard of that island where it was the coordinates were on something very ancient. I think they were in Egypt somewhere, the coordinates. That's amazing. I think there is something I wrote that I'm just going to read out, if it's okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
This was channeled. So I'll just read this out, and then there's something else I'd like to share with you about that section of beach. Okay. Let me see, where is this? Okay, this is called Depths of Life, Crystal and the Ocean Bed. And I channeled this either in 2009 or 2010. Okay. Chapter 12. So this is it's like a poem, but it is channeled. It's not from me. I couldn't write this if I tried. Okay, so this is called Depths of Life, Crystal and the Ocean Bed. Crystal on the ocean bed, far beneath the deep. Depths of life, wild force and untamed. Deepest blue, black, brightest star, lays its belly softly on the ocean floor, untouchable and silent, silently waiting for the day to end, when it shall be found in the year 2012. Crystal clear blue ocean covers 1,000,000 secrets that lay buried and covered over in a milky white haze. And the gulls cry louder still, for never a nation will set us free. Upon the ocean bed we lay silently waiting in nothing, nothing but stillness and silence. Our waves wash into the shore, in and out, never ceasing, cascading and caressing the sand and toes of human man. Whoever will find us laying in the stillness shall be a lucky soul, for he will reap the fruits of our gold, spiritual gold, that is worth. Priceless gold of infinity and murky depths. We lay upon the ocean floor in silence, waiting to be found by the spiritual man who seeks. Spiritual gold, and it shines crystal clear like an emerald jewel, long since forgotten by the conditioned mind. Huge temples lay flooded and bare, drenched and soaked in waves and depths of despair. A race, a nation were we, at the beginning of time, temples of immortality. The truths of our origins are out there, somewhere upon the ocean floor, warm and cold. Like ice, we share emerald jade crystals. Huge as the mountain stone, jagged and polished, shining freely for all to see, yet not found, unknown to some and unbelieved by many. But still we wait to be found, and we shall find, and our find shall change humanity, for they will cry it cannot be so. Oh, let it not be true. Oh, let it be true. Oh, let it be true. Let my origins shine through my soul, that I shall remember who I am and where I came from the stars that I gaze upon. Let my soul be known, let our souls be known, my brother and sister, forever immortal, in what is known as insanity in the human society, that today we know as civilized and just. Let it be so, let it be known for all humanity to see, that we are one, you and I, that there is no difference. When I look upon you, I see myself and 1,000 words unspoken, 1,000 wars all crying no, in a cage of civilized humanity and slaves for them.
Is that from your book?
It is, Miles.
Well,
Yeah.
well, why don't you show the book? Why don't you show the book?
Well,
I mean, this is an opportunity. Show us your book. Yeah, and where can you get the book? We want to see the whole book. I mean, so people can see.
This is my author copy.
Oh, what does that mean?
This one is just for authors to read through. So
it's not actually available.
No, you can buy it on Amazon.
Yeah. Okay. But we don't want to keep it a secret. We're trying to sort of let people know about your book. So okay, you don't have to hold it that close, for good Jesus.
Okay.
Yeah, we want to see it, but we don't want to. The Pleiadian Child.
Yeah.
And it's by somebody called Caroline Noonan. Do you know who that is?
That's me.
Oh, wow. My God. Jesus. My God.
Yeah.
And that's only on Amazon or any other exciting shops or whatever?
It's just on Amazon, yeah. Yeah, it's just on Amazon. So, yeah, it took me about 5 years to complete that. So it's a section of my childhood. And then there's the middle section is just the channelings from the Pleiadians. And then the third section is the present time where I was at the time I wrote it. But I began it in 2009, so it's quite a long time. So I've obviously moved forward from then, yeah. So
does that mean you're going another book? Another book's available? You're trying to make another book? Yeah.
I have been told there will be at least 3 or 4 books, and I'm still waiting for them to emerge.
Good, you better get your skates on. They're all could be ascended by then. I mean,
I know.
If we've got to wait another 5, that's we're going to have to wait 20 years before you get the rest of your books. Jesus, well, God Almighty! I mean, God Almighty.
Yeah, I know. Maybe now is the time for me to start doing that.
Yes, maybe it is.
I was actually told this morning to write an ebook on the coronavirus. So,
who told you that? What was your experience? What told you?
Well, I was taking all these notes, and they weren't coming from me. I'm not 100% sure where they were coming from, if it was Pleiades or if it was other beings or light beings.
So how do you know that where you're getting this information is actually good, that you're not being operated by some kind of con artist or deceitful spirit of some kind?
Well, I have been in the past, and I always check now how I feel. And if it doesn't feel right, then I exclude it. But I always check. And also sometimes with the information, if it doesn't feel right, if the information itself doesn't feel right or feels kind of iggly, then that's a
Feels
sign that it's
how?
not.
What?
If it feels
Eagry.
iggly, if it
Iggly.
feels iggly, that's a word I just made up.
We're dealing with the iggly factor here.
The iggly tribe.
Oh, we're a wee bit iggly today. Shouldn't do that. Me taking the piss out of you like that with a bad
You're,
bell.
you're very relaxed, Miles, today.
Well, I'm chilling out. I've actually had a sun. I sat in the sun. Actually, got the first ability to actually sit on a seat in the sun without freezing to death, because it's feckin' cold out there when you're not in the sun, because it's only springtime. And behind we've got the Alton Barns White Horse. There it is. You can just you won't see that, but that's a beautiful sight, centre of Wiltshire where we are, and beautiful place to be. I think we can legally walk those hills, provided we're 2 meters away from anybody. But
Yeah.
so, what are your feelings on this coronavirus? So we'll sort of round it up to finish the hour. I mean, what's your what's your basic bottom line on what you're talking about here in terms of the effect of this virus? Is it a virus? Is it some kind of other thing to get us all boxed in? So whenever the fleets, I mean, you heard about the fleets, the Draco fleets and the Pleiadian stuff upstairs, secret space program. I mean, what's your view on that?
This is the coronavirus is very much to do with part of the. Sorry, I keep going blank. Is the coronavirus is to do with the I call it the war of the worlds. It's the war between light and dark, between good and bad, ET energy, and it's very much to do with the ascension. So this where this time is hugely important. I mean, this is it. This is it. We either wake up or we don't. We either raise our energy and vibration or we don't. Because this is very much to do with the ascension, and our DNA is changing back to its original blueprint. You know, when this is a mass shift of consciousness, if we let it in, this is huge. I mean, this not only affects us, but it affects the whole universe. You know, it affects other star beings and star nations and star races and planets and star systems. It's not only affecting us. That would be impossible. That would
Explain that exactly, please.
Well, what we do on Earth affects other planets and star systems and star races and nations. You know, we're not alone in the universe. We never have been. We never have been, and we don't come from here. What we do on Earth.
Where do we come from? The other side of Orion?
Well, I can only speak for myself. I'm not sure where you're from. I know I'm from the Pleiades.
There's a few people who'd like to know where I'm from.
Where are you from, Miles?
Oh, I couldn't tell you that. So continue yourself. This is about you, not about me. Excuse that, but not about me. Who are you?
Well, you know, wherever we're from, we're not from here. We're not from here. So, I mean,
I think that somebody with a busted fan belt just drove past.
It was some guy on a bike, just going past, outside the window. We need to. I mean, I can't explain. I can't, you know.
Try to explain.
This time that we're on the Earth at the moment is so important. There's nothing else that matters. This is it. This is the shit hitting the fan. This is the ascension, the tipping point of the ascension and the raising of our consciousness. This is everything. And if you chuck a stone into the ocean, it has a ripple effect. So what happens on Earth at this time is going to stream out into the universe, and it has an effect on other consciousness and and light beings and star nations, especially the Pleiadians. They're here to help to assist us so that we can raise our frequency, our energy to the next level, so that they can raise theirs, because we're actually holding them back, and we must be holding others back as well. Their interest in us.
That's an interesting concept. I haven't heard that one before.
Yeah, no, it's a ripple effect. You know, we're all part of God, and God is within us, and we're all having different experiences. But the 7 billion, I think, people on the planet at the moment, none of us are having what I was told before. None of us are having the same reality. We're all having a different reality. But with this coronavirus, all of us have the coronavirus in our reality. So this is the one thing I've ever known of within reality that has an effect on every single person on the planet. Has some similarity to the like, I have no reality to a starving child in Ireland. That's not my reality. We're two different realities. But this coronavirus is completely covering the earth, where we all have a similarity in reality. Now that's very important, because it means that we're all able to reach each other on a spiritual level.
I think the last time that happened was 9/11, when everybody was synchronized. No, explain.
I think
yeah, big negative note. Okay, could go in there.
It's not on the same extremity. 9/11 was kind of here. The coronavirus, there's not one person on this planet that coronavirus has not affected. Everyone is affected by the coronavirus, whereas some people were affected by 9/11 and some weren't. Because 9/11 wasn't my reality. I didn't believe what I was being told. I didn't buy it.
Why not? Why did you not believe what you're being told?
Because it was obviously, when you look at that plane flying into the building and then the building blowing up internally, that's impossible. That doesn't happen. A building doesn't explode internally from the inside out and disintegrate because of a plane.
I think the main cause was the Perspex radar dome nose that is on the front of the plane seems to make it the whole way through the building, and the aluminium wings cutting through feet thick steel and concrete. Now that seemed to, obviously that happens. I mean, we've been told that happens, so therefore it must have happened. But you're somehow had an instinct of no, we're being conned.
I believe the plane went through, but I believe the building was blown up. And then the building was blown up.
Right. Okay, that's 9/11, 20 years ago. It is almost 20 years ago, isn't it? So, God, it's a long time. We're here now, and we've got this global thing, which you are saying affects everybody.
Yeah.
And we're pursuing this. Well, what's your final sort of conclusions in this sort of introduction to what you're saying and what you're doing? What's your conclusions, and where do you think you're personally moving to in this big crisis? We're really at the early stages of this now.
Yeah, I think it's going to go on for 3 to 6 months. But it's, I can't say it enough. This is it. This is the big event. This is a big event on a mass scale, and it doesn't just affect us on Earth. It also affects other beings like the Pleiades and different star systems and different star nations. So it has vast reaches. I believe it was created as a bioweapon by the negative agenda, not realizing that it's actually going to have a positive outcome. So this is the raising of our consciousness. This is the next step. This is the part of ascension, which, you know, if we can get through it and raise our energy, keep our vibrations high, get out into the sun as much as you can. You know, we're being kept indoors, not just because of the spread of corona, but because there are things in the sky they don't want us to see, because the sunshine is coming back now in the UK. You know, the sun's starting to come out.
Yeah, we've had about 4 months of rain.
Yeah, it's been awful in the UK. There is something.
That's part of the Maunder minimum.
There is something above the earth. I believe NASA's doing a lot of work up there, but I also believe there's a lot of UFO activity that's about to unfold. I feel there's a lot of different strings to it. So it's not just about the coronavirus. There's a lot of other stuff going on. So it's a bioweapon to keep us, to exterminate a lot of us, to keep us dumbed down, to put us back into fear. The supermarkets are making a huge fortune. The companies selling the masks are making a huge fortune. The medicinal companies and the pharmacies are making a huge fortune. So companies are profiting on a vast mass scale. I watched a program or a news clip a couple of days, like a week ago, about hand sanitizer. Now their profits, they were selling a year. In a year, they sold what they sold in a day. So their profits went from one whole year to one day. Now that has huge profits. So the big companies do have an vested interest in creating.
Well, there's no point having a solution if you can't make a big profit out of it. You create the problem and then you come up with the solution.
And I wouldn't be surprised if the next thing is to chip us, is to microchip us with some type of
well, I understand there are transmitters being installed across London. I was just speaking to a dear friend quite recently from Peterborough, and she'd noticed that she's a very astute individual, and we've gotten just new transmitter just around the corner, stuck on a lamppost, a square transmitter stuck on the top of a lamppost with a big antenna on it. Obviously, that's some kind of microwave transmission system for another type of transmission system. I understand also it's happening across London. So clearly they're installing a different communication system, which would infer that the one that we're using is going to be taken down. So I don't know how long we're going to have even the ability to have these kind of conversations.
Whoa, I mean, yeah, I believe the internet is going to go down. I believe the TV systems are going to go down. Money's going to go down. Food is going to become short supply and big demand. The internet's going to go down at some point, you know.
Well, that's the one thing that you're using to communicate with us, because nobody's watching mainstream TV anymore.
Well, exactly, and that's why it's going to be going down.
Well, anyway, that's speculation. Hopefully it doesn't happen. Hopefully it's all going to work out. Okay, Caroline Noonan, final word.
Raise your energy, raise your consciousness. You know, there's ways you can do it, through sound, through music, through healing, through crystals, through simply getting together, even if it's online. Meditation is key. Meditation is absolutely key. We can all channel star nations. We can all channel different star beings. I'm not special at all. I'm just like any other starseed. There's nothing special about me.
I'm just like any other starseed. I'm nothing special. I'm just a starseed, an alien starseed. But I'm nothing special.
But I am. There's nothing special about me. There isn't, you know. My childhood has shown that, has proved that, you know.
Well done. Well, on this introduction to Caroline Noonan, we'll say goodbye from me. And goodbye.
And goodbye from me for now.
Good.
Thank you for watching.